record. So here we go. Share. Okay. So there you see the program that I posted, and these were the speakers through the year. Now, unfortunately, they cannot all be here today, but I thought it would be a good idea just to put the pictures up again, that we are reminded of who they are. So our program was quite interesting, and here you can see we started off in April, and the topic was using AI for a seamless teaching and learning from a seamless teaching and learning perspective. And that was presented by me, Dr. Helga Hembrock, and by Dr. Rob Power. So just to get back to the topics that we had, this was the beginning of our series, to think about how can we use AI for education and specifically for seamless teaching and learning. Then in May, we had Professor Karen Ferreira, and she was speaking about AI for seamless language learning and transforming pedagogy and enhancing outcomes. Now, unfortunately, she is not available today, but if you have questions for her, she agreed that we could send her the questions, and she would then answer them directly. Then in June, we had Dr. Johanna Stefan, and she spoke about how far can AI take control of education. And the question was dumbing down teaching and learning. Would that be something that would be a fear one could have? And then we went to September. In July, we didn't have any sessions, and also not in August. And then in September, we had Professor Ramesh Sharma from India, and he was speaking about cybersecurity in the age of AI. And then in October, we had Dr. Rafida Abkarim, and she's also unfortunately not available today. She spoke about AI-generated content for teaching and learning. And then we had Dr. Johanna Stefan again, and this time she spoke about AI, the unseen face, and AI stories from the trenches. Very interesting. And then we had Professor Eva Ossianilsson from Sweden, and she spoke about AI for education and specifically on ethical leadership in the area of AI and openness. And then again in November, Professor Gulsen Kurubachak-Chakir, she spoke about immersive technology for seamless learning. Very interesting topic. And then Professor Karen Ferreira spoke about holding that difficult AI conversation with learners, and that was in end of November. And okay, that was the other one. And then we had the last one, which we haven't which I didn't put in here, was Dr. Mohammed Ahmed Albai, and he spoke about using AI for education, and he gave us a few very interesting practical examples of how different types of AI could be used. Right, so now today we have gathered everyone that is interested to ask questions. So what I was thinking is, if we go through the topics, the ones that are available here on our meeting, we can speak about, maybe, Joanna, are you here today? I haven't seen her moving into the room yet. She might come a bit later. I'll just quickly ask her here. And also, I'm actually wondering where Sandia was. She wanted to be part of this. Right. So in other words, I see that Joanna's not here. Professor Rish.
Hello. I am here. If you are
Oh, are you
trying,
here? Okay.
yeah. I didn't have my
Okay.
camera on, and
Oh,
my mic
yes.
was not
Okay.
working properly. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Testing. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is awesome. I'm going to just open your presentation. You had two presentations,
Yes, I
and the
had two
first one
presentations.
was about how
They are
AI
both
can take.
complaining. I am, the other side of the coin when it
Exactly. And
with
maybe it is a good idea to maybe start off with I'm actually wondering if we shouldn't start off with the presentation we did. Rob, you are here, right? Rob Power.
I am
I see.
here.
Okay. So Rob, I'm wondering if you. Oh my word! I'm going to turn my camera off, my microphone off now. Uh, Rob, when you and I were presenting, we were thinking about this topic, and I was thinking maybe I can give you an opportunity just to speak about it, because in a very short time, we're giving you about 5 minutes to open this discussion, because this is really where we started. So if you don't mind, just give a short introduction of what we spoke about.
Sure, I'll try and remember all the details. For my part of the presentation, I was speaking about how I was trying to weave AI into my teaching practice seamlessly from a couple of different perspectives, both as a tool for facilitating the learning experience for the students in my course, but also as the curriculum focus itself. So in this particular course, I had the students
Yes.
investigating uh, the potential use of AI, and I
Yeah.
had them use AI tools to generate some content on topics they were familiar with. But then they spent a good part of the rest of the course critiquing that output, the process that they went through, the content that was generated, the format of the content, looking at it with a really critical lens to see its reliability and validity as content that they'd be confident in actually giving to their students or putting their name to, and then giving their recommendations for other teachers who were going to use those tools. So they were actually leveraging the tools, but then they were actually exploring the tools from a theoretical and a pragmatic perspective as well.
Okay, that's very good. So if you think about, if you look at this now, I mean, I spoke more about what the seamless learning, um, what that means, and how will AI fit into the whole seamless learning experience. If you think about what your students did with what you moved, which with the tools that you used, um, how did they react? How did they find it? You said you did give them some questions, or what was the reaction?
They really enjoyed the experience, especially not just having it as a one-off experience for one particular week in the course, but taking several weeks to dive into it, so they didn't feel so rushed. They didn't feel overwhelmed by it. They could take sort of like baby steps in producing the content, and we helped them figure out how to do some prompt engineering and things like that, and to produce the type of content that they wanted, but they really appreciated the opportunity to take that detailed look at the potential of it, how they could actually leverage it as a tool, but to look at the limitations as well, and to
Yes.
discuss those limitations rather than just generating content and going with it, but to have a safe space to discuss it, where they weren't penalized for using it and for the type of content that it outputted, but looking at that content itself was the point. So they weren't penalized in the sense of, oh, you're submitting an essay to me and ChatGPT wrote it, so you're going to get an academic penalty. What they actually submitted to me wasn't the gradable content. their exploration of that content was. So they really appreciated that opportunity. In the end, I used a survey tool that I developed to try and gauge a before and after look at their sense of confidence or self-efficacy with using AI in the classroom. And some of their scores went up, but some of their confidence levels with it went down, and that's because of some of the limitations that they saw with it. But it enabled them to come up with some good recommendations and that they could pass along to other educators and to other students. And most of those recommendations focused on being critical of the tool, not just accepting its output.
Okay, well, that sounds really fantastic. It also brings me to this point, which I think is really important, that because AI has become such a big word, that for us as educators and as using educational technology, just to bring us back and to bring our students back to the basics, that we are not teaching with technology for the sake of technology, but we're teaching for the sake of using technology, as a mind tool to really enhance our teaching and learning. And just the last question there, if anybody else has a question. So, do you think that it was important that you took them through each one of the tools to explain how they work, or did you actually leave it over to them to figure it out?
I left it to them to figure out the tools. After we did an initial session, we had a group led by somebody who was quite familiar with ChatGPT do a group presentation on how large language models work and how you can do some prompt engineering.
Yes.
So they got a basic hit the ground running tutorial on it. But I thought it was more important to discuss the purpose behind using the tool and to explore those potentials and those limitations so that they really had an innate sense when they left why you would use the tool as opposed to just using it for the sake of using it. And it's like with any tool, I don't like to teach my students, here's the latest tools that have been put out there marketed to us. I like to take it from, okay, what do we want to do? What outcomes do we want to meet with our students? What are some appropriate tools that we could use? And
Yes.
my hope is that by going through this experience in my class, these teachers, when they go out to their own classrooms now, they'll be able to guide their students to make ethical decisions about when to use AI and how to use it appropriately and ethically, and when it's not such a wise tool to use.
Yes. That's awesome. That's really good. So, are there any questions about this study that Rob did, or any comments? Okay. So far, it seems as if everyone is happy with your answers. Here's the question.
Okay, the types of activities. All right. Well, the first, it was a multi-stage project that I gave them that spanned the 13-week course. These were graduate education students, so they were all practicing teachers coming in to upgrade and get their master's degrees. So what I asked them to do was to pick any topic they had written about for another course, something they were already familiar with, and there was a reason for that. I wanted them to understand and know the content already so that they could pick apart what ChatGPT spit out. And I asked them first to give me like a 1,000-word essay written by ChatGPT about this topic. So their submission to me was to tell me what the topic was that they chose, give me the list of prompts that they used, and give me exactly what ChatGPT spat out to them. Don't modify it in any way. Just give it to me as the output. For the second stage, I gave them a standard peer review form, pretty similar to what publishers use or to what journals use when they're doing blind peer reviews of submissions. And I had them work in pairs, and they went through each other's essays, looking for the style of writing, the grammatical and APA issues with the writing, whether it was appropriate output for the target audience that they intended the essay for, and then to look at the factual correctness, the factual errors, and the factual omissions with it, and to give me back that form as if they were reviewer A or reviewer B, and this had been submitted to them, and what are their recommendations for improving the content so that it's worthwhile to publish if that's what the aim was. And after that, the third stage was that these pairs of students then produced a multimedia video where they talked about the process of using ChatGPT to write about a topic that they were familiar with, how they critiqued it, the process that they went through, their findings from that critique, and then their recommendations for other teachers and students.
Thank you so much, Rob. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be turning on my camera. We're in a room full of people. I'm just in a corner just to be able to be here today. But thank you. I think that's. I work with master's students in education leadership, and they also did an assignment where they had to use ChatGPT or use any tool to be able to discuss about SWOT. SWOTs for their schools, and I think that was a great way for them to realize the nuances and the type of responses that you get. So thank you for that. Thank you.
You'll find that when we do get our next ebook published, I've already put my chapter together, and I followed the same process I asked my students to go through. And I wrote my own little introduction for it, but then I used an AI tool to produce some content, some summaries of the research that I did, and to create an audio podcast discussing the research and its impacts. And then I concluded the chapter with my own discussion again of the process that I went through, like my students did, and the merits of the content that it gave me, and how it represents a more ethical use of it as opposed to an unethical use, trying to pass it off as my own work. And in the chapter, I include the materials that I gave to my students. So if anybody wanted to run the assignment themselves, the assignment descriptors are there, the rubrics are there, the peer feedback checklist is there, and the infographic that I gave to them to walk them through the process is there.
Yeah, that's awesome, Rob. Thank you so much, because that gives all the people all our attendees a heads up for our book as well. The book is coming in soon. We can't give you a date, but it's close. So thank you so much, Rob. That was fantastic, and I'm really excited about this book. Your chapter looks great. So, any more questions there?
I have a little question for Rob, if he's still around. How optimistic are you that we are able to leverage the use of AI in a positive form by working with students and guiding them? But from your experience, how optimistic?
I think that I'm quite optimistic that we can leverage AI in ethical ways. But I'm less optimistic about the preparedness of our K-12 school systems to prepare students to do that. It's quite easy for us to do that, but we need to make a concerted effort. And I think it would be quite easy to work it into the curriculum. There's lots of talk about working it into the curriculum and having our students graduate with these critical thinking skills. But when I look back over the history of, say, how we've handled social media and mobile devices since the advent of the iPhone, and we've had 17 years since the iPhone was released to sort of tweak our system to account for this new technology, and we failed miserably, and we failed our students miserably in it. I'm quite optimistic that we can, if we all show the leadership necessary to guide our school systems to this. I'm less optimistic about the bureaucracy and the bureaucracy's preparedness to adapt to this new technology.
Thank you. Yeah, I fully agree with this line of thought. And hopefully, I mean, it's not the students. We just have to try to find solutions for the bureaucratic processes and everything and adapt easier. And I'm really happy that you mentioned, because we do have this history, like, you know, the mobile technologies and the emergence, and everybody's, oh, students are going to cheat. We are not allowing them to take their phones. And there was all this hype, and we could not do that. And I think it's very good to just analyze this and say, okay, technology is evolving again, we are not ready again, and things like that. Yeah, thanks so
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the cheating bit, I mean, there's been some studies done over the past couple of years. Uh, it doesn't look, from what I've read, that there are more students cheating because of this technology. It's the same rates of cheating. They just have new weapons.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you for the insights.
You're muted,
Helga,
Helga.
you're muted.
Oh yeah. So I'm just thinking about that this is really coming from a perspective of ethical values. If a student has sound ethical values, you can give him any technology and he will follow the correct path, isn't it? And I mean, if somebody wants to cheat, he'll cheat. He'll find a way. But I think it is important to mention to the student that there are some things that you cannot do that could be ethically, you know, impacting on their on their honesty. But I think what you were asking now, Joanna, is actually introducing your topic. So if you want to if you want to just give us a bit more of your background, why did you choose that topic? Because I think that's really something most lecturers have in the back of their minds. What are we going to do with this? So
Okay,
now
so
we think over
if
to you.
it's a
Thank
good
you, Rob.
time, I can step in. So I have actually worked for several organizations along the years, and now my main job is for a company. And we do have a training center, and we are working, we have several projects that we are implementing in schools and universities. We have also been involved in adult education, and we are trying to have, you know, different perspectives from what is going on, and trying to extract, you know, the let's say the key elements that we should also have in mind. And why? Because, for instance, at ATS, where I is my main job, I also am in charge of hiring people, you know, and some have very good CVs. Um, and after a discussion, you realize that definitely some of the people in front of me have not written their CVs. And then they come and say, oh, I have developed this program. We are an IT company, okay? And I say, okay, just show it to me. And then you realize, hey, this is not written by you. You have copied from somewhere else. Of course, as a programmer, you reuse a lot of code, and that is perfectly fine. I'm not expecting people to develop things from scratch. It's really illogical and not cost-wise. But it's just about copying and editing, not copy and paste. And then you realize that they are starting to lose some abilities like critical thinking. They are not willing to invest in the analysis of an application. And then, you know, you find it's really more and more difficult to find people to hire. And I work in research, and this is even harder. You know, people give up because research, of course, has the innovation part. They have to learn a lot, and the recent experience that I had hired a guy and he actually gave up after 4 days, which was very tragic. Yeah. So here we are, and that's why I want to bring up, a different side of things, because, the academia the role is to prepare people for the job market. Okay, and we want to have people that are able to understand how they should work, and hopefully ethically, and have this ability to, of course, use all the technologies. My colleagues do that, and of course, they are trying to enhance their applications. They are trying to, improve the way they are working and so on. So we are not against this, but then again, there is this missing link. Again, because people, and there are these threats that we have to be aware of, because we are copying code from somewhere else, and they don't even go through it. They just copy it book, and they might copy bugs in a lot of let's say harmful software. Let's go for this. Yeah, and they are not aware of these dangers. Oh, I just finished my project. It's working. Everything is fine, and you distribute it within your group. People are using it, and they don't see the dark side of it. And it's actually more and more dangerous. And why I'm bringing this up is because, for instance, in Romania now, I don't know if, because this is, we are Romania, it's just a country in the Eastern Europe, but we got our elections, the presidential elections were cancelled because actually one of the candidates misused technology and social media to promote himself, and now they are trying to find some and define some regulations on how to mitigate these kind of situations. And unfortunately, next to us is Russia, that has a very major impact on countries like us, but also on other countries in Europe. And we have to be aware of these dangers. We also have clients that have been attacked in different ways, and their data have been compromised. And it's very hard for them to find people that are able to understand the problem. Okay, so yes, we are using AI. I think it has been around for quite a long time. Let's be realistic. But this dangerous side of it was not so upfront, I feel, like it is now. And I just realized I didn't share the results of the survey with this group, but I will be doing this. And I also discussed with some students recently, and they are not aware of the dangers. They would, one of them said, "Oh, I will I'm really comfortable in sitting in my car and maybe sleeping and let a software drive my car." And I said, like, in Romania, is it possible? The roads are so bad. Well, but if the roads were good, I would do it. And I said, but this is still very dangerous. And I can give you some really sad examples, unfortunately, that are happening. So they are not aware of the dangerous side. And in order to fully exploit such technologies, I feel that it is important to also understand the threats that are behind this. Otherwise, just what has happened, and Rob has mentioned with the mobile technologies, they took us, we're not prepared, of course. We are always unprepared. And technologies are evolving very, very fast. But we have to learn how to actually equip students and perform and understand, okay, there are so many AI apps. That's why I'm late also with my chapter, because I have to make a decision what I keep and what because some of them from my first presentation are not valid anymore. Okay, and you invest time, and as a teacher, you want to have a long-term commitment, and you develop some content, and then you explain to your students, you can do this and this with this set of apps, and then half of them are not available anymore. Or we also have to understand that some of the features are not free. Or we also have to analyze this context. And maybe if we work as a group, something that I've mentioned before, we can provide this guidance and say, okay, we are a group of researchers and we can validate some of these AI tools. So I think this will be very helpful for the very busy teacher that is trying to make his or her class a little bit more interesting. So this would be just some insights from where I'm coming from.
Okay, no, that is really interesting. So you are saying that you think that adults should be trained as well. I mean, you are now working in a company where you are appointing adults to use AI ethically, and that they should also understand the dangers if they do not use it correctly. You know, sometimes they don't know it because they don't think about it. Yeah, like you said now with your survey, I think there's a bit of a it's like a naiveness around using AI. It's like, oh yeah, this is so cool, this is so, you know, those words. They don't think further that it could actually have a dark side to it. And then just go for it. Our young people are now, we try everything on. Go.
I even got a response that they would trust an AI tool to take military decisions. So if we're talking about to take military decisions,
you know, please.
Like yeah. I haven't checked the latest. And also in relation to there are a lot of parents that, for instance, use different type of applications to monitor their children, and they're not aware that their data is shipped directly to China.
Yeah, you see, I mean, it is very easy to accept everything, and then we are on top of it. We know what technology is. We are, you know, it's kind of being ahead of things. If you know, if people talk about a specific app, or yes, I know about that one, but do you really know it?
Yeah.
That's maybe the question. So, are there any comments here? Any questions we have? Do you also agree with us that one needs to ensure that your employees and your students and your lecturers are better equipped?
Yeah, I think we have to consider this as an ecosystem, you know, because we are not solitary entities, and we have to find a better way to work together. And of course, in most domains, it's important to have this continuous learning process and life learning. It's not possible to say, okay, I graduated and that's it. It's not happening anymore. Do we have the mechanisms to support this? So and so.
Yeah. You see, this is why I'm thinking one of the points that just mentioned is I think also Rob said. So we need to bring in an extra level of learning. I know some have done it before, but I think it's an extra level, and that level is critical thinking and being able to discuss deeper and go further behind the whys, and we can ask the questions of hows and what are the implications. Really go deeper into any topic you are doing, not only the apps, but really, if I give an example, for instance, say you'd ask the students to write code, and there is a specific workflow that it would implicate if they make mistakes. You would need that conversation ahead of time, knowing that this has an implication if you do not double check your code,
Yeah.
So I do think that we as educators need to think through how are we using these tools and how are we introducing them to the students, from that perspective. Okay, so thank you so much. I think that is very, very good and very interesting for us to remember that for the future, that we continue thinking about the dark side, not only the sparkles and all the wonderful things that it does.
Yeah, I love the sparkle, and of course I'm very enthusiastic. I was discussing with my colleague the other day. She discovered a new app. She tested them. The results are fantastic, and of course I want to use that. And then I said, okay, let's see how safe are they, and things like that. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for this opportunity, and you'll definitely hear from me soon.
Thank you
with my
so much
chapter.
for being part of it. We are also looking forward to your chapter on chapters. You've got 2, right? Yes.
Yeah, I hope I will be able to divide them a little
Okay.
bit, so they're going to be 2. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. We are really looking forward to that. Okay. Thank you so much. So I think from here we can. I'm actually missing Prof. Ramesh because it would really be ideal. Prof. Ramesh spoke about cybersecurity because that's where the thinking was going. But I do think we can talk about it and what your thinking is about. He took us through the whole. If you really look at it, the dark side of the web, and I mean, he took it a step further. Even he went into all the different systems, even on government level, on systems that are used for communication in the telecoms and all the systems that are used in computers as such, and how important cybersecurity is, and how easy it is to hack into the systems. And one of the things we spoke about, and that was when Galton was talking about immersive technology. We're talking about clean data. Do you remember that discussion? You were also part of it, right, Joanna?
Yes, I was, and I was very interested in the topic, of course.
Yes.
And I think seamless learning should be directly related with this immersive experience. That should be education, whatever level it means, because otherwise you are not engaged. Yeah, so I was really, it was a very good presentation.
Yeah. And I mean, they will be writing about it, so there will be more information on it. And anyone that missed the webinars, I did record most of them. There were some of them where we had problems with the virtual classroom where we started and then we had to stop again, go in another class. But I tried to get it together, yeah. Okay, Rob, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it, and we wish you good luck. And thank you for being part of our process. It's great to have you here. Okay, so are there any thoughts about this? The data critical. Okay, let's just recap. Any thoughts about being more careful, knowing what you should tell your students, knowing more about the cybersecurity and how to prevent data capture or data crawlers, and also how as educators one can be better prepared. Do you have any answers for all those questions I just had? Oh, my battery's dying. Oh, please. If I disappear, please, I will come back. Joanna, you have to take over.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Yeah, well, cybersecurity has always been an issue and will always be an issue. And I think to take the first step, we have to just analyze a little bit the patterns of our behavior. For instance, how many of us we actually read the terms of and conditions? What is our behavior pattern when we are, for instance, installing a new app? Are we aware of what we should check, or we just give full access to everything, to our photos, to our media folders, and so on? This actually, because sometimes the security breaches do not have, they are not like, exploring something very, very difficult. They are mostly relying on small errors, and on the fact that we are comfortable and we have got used to this very fast forward way of, for instance, installing, using applications. When we are doing updates, we just click on the button and we never revise what is being updated. And this kind of behaviors that at a certain moment might actually put us in danger. And I think here is where we have to just work our way through and raise awareness of the dangers that are happening. Now, holidays are coming, and actually most of the attacks happen during the holidays. And I can testify that a few of my colleagues have actually spent their holidays with our clients that have been hacked. And we work a lot with public organizations, with ministries, with county councils, and so on. And of course, that data is critical, and we had to step in. We get an award from time to time, but this actually doesn't help. We have to teach them how to prevent that. And they are really very small errors. They are very, very small errors that actually leads to this.
Yeah, I'm back. This makes me
Yeah.
think about how important it is that one should learn more about coding. I mean, for me, I literally know how to copy a code and to paste it. I can see where I can make the changes, but I'm not a coder. So I do think that it might be important for educators to also learn coding, because that is
Yeah.
what help us to read.
And also the vulnerabilities, because they are areas that
Yes.
Are more vulnerable. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, but I think in a nutshell, that is really important that one is aware of it and that one can move forward with the thought that there are dangers. I find it very fascinating that you are working in industry and that you also see how one needs to take care of we need to take care of our computers and our privacy, our private information. Um, okay, I see Mohammed Asman is here. All right. Mohammed, we missed you, and you must just continue, please. We are not going to let you go. You are still part of us.
Thank you, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
So, Mohammed, while you are on the microphone, do you have any questions or would you like to make comments about this topic? Awareness and
Just to get the idea of this year working with the AI.
yes.
I will get back to my reading, and I will get back to you soon in 25, the next year, and I will join
Oh,
the research. Yeah.
okay, no, fine. So we can ask Alexia to give us some more insights on this topic. No, great.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
just wondering, if one is aware of things that that you do not know, how would be the easiest and best part to do it and to understand and learn more about it. And I just enrolled in a course which is called AI for marketing and AI for, it's got all kinds of different parts to it. It's not only education. But they don't really talk about the security of it and the dangers. And I think that's why I'm worried about we're using all these tools and not knowing what they cannot do. And so yeah, I think that topic is really important for us. But so now let's see. Thank you so much, Joanna. I think we can go to the next topic. Unfortunately, I see many of our people didn't come today, but one of the topics that we're very interested in, and I can see Professor Eba is here with us. We wanted to know more about your thinking in terms of the whole idea of AI and open education, and then the responsibility of the leadership in this field. So if you can just give us a quick summary of what you spoke about so that you can have the topic, and then we can ask you questions.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much, Helga, for organizing this. I think this session today. I think it's very good to have this wrapping up session from the speakers from during the year. It's good to remind also ourselves, not at least, to see what have we really done and what kind of topics are we discussing. And as you were saying, also all of them are fitting into each other in different kind of edges. So what I spoke about in my session was about ethical leadership in the area of AI and openness, because this is really my research field and what I'm really, really interested in for the moment and have been for quite a long time. So first of all, I made some statements, and the statements is always had a background about sustainability development goals by UNESCO and United Nations. And we know that SDG 4 is really on the topic of our works about education and seamless learning and education. But we also know that the SDG 4 has an impact, influence, and will lead to that we can reach many of the others. And there are special some of them are pointed out, not at least when it comes to the issue of open education, which is very important, because open education is the only way to reach the SDG 4, education for all, not leaving anyone behind. And we know that there are some, I think there's some 84% who are still lacking education in the world, and that is very alarming. Education today is just for the elites, those who really are educated in one or another way before. So that is why my topic about ethical leadership and openness and AI is so urgent and so much close to my heart. Because and I did some statements during my presentation, and that was, first of all, what is education for sustainability for the future we want, and we are the ones who can decide that, and if we don't do that, someone else will do it. And another statement was about what is really the purpose of education. The main purpose is to educate people to be active citizens in a global society, in an ever-changing world. And that is also why education today is excellent, because we educate what we already know about. I think that that would be the future for those people who go through education. And another statement was about the purpose of openness and OER. And just a few weeks ago, there was a large UNESCO conference in Dubai about open education, and especially on OER. And there will be a new recommendation, and which will come in the next 7 years, which is built on the OER recommendation from 2019. But as we all know and has been discussing so far in those sessions as well, is about AI. So AI and openness are very close together, and there are also lots of myths about it. For example, a lot of people think that what is available on internet and what is available to ChatGPT, for example, is just open and free. You can take it and use it as you like. But of course, that is not the case. This new Dubai recommendation is built, as I said, from the previous one from 2019. And there are 5 special areas which are important, and that is about capacity building, it is about policies, it's about international collaboration, it is about, of course, how and where to find OER and open education materials. And with those 5 areas, we see what also Joanna was talking about the ecosystem. Because from my perspective and about the leadership perspective, we need to really focus on the ecosystem, because there is, when it comes to quality, there is no quality as good as the whole chain. And if one chain is broken or vulnerable or some missing gaps, everything will be broken. So there is a need to see the ecosystem, to see the holistic perspective. And that is why also the statements I raised was about the digital transformation. What is that really about? And for that, we need ethical leadership. And I also argued for that we can't just ask what AI can do for us, because that's, of course, a lot of things it can do. But rather, maybe we shall turn the question around and ask, what do we want AI to do for us? To have the human perspective, not just the technical aspects. Because the technical aspects are there, and they are just, and they will just evolve again and again and again, as also Rob was talking about. I mean, new technologies are coming and going, and we can't stop that. And that was also why I had a metaphor of the elephant. We have to face the elephant in the room. So I talked a bit about that as well. Of course, either you can just say that the elephant doesn't exist, or you can escape from it, or you have to face it and really ask, what can AI do for us, and what do we want AI to do for us? And asking that kind of question needs really resilient, ethical leaders who dare to take the responsibility and to take this involvement forward, because there need to be incentives for teachers, for the education assistants, for learners, for everyone involved within education. And one thing I also noticed today, I will like us to move away from just talking about the tools. Of course, the tools are there, and there will be one tool today, another tool tomorrow. But we need to ask ourselves much more about, what are the affordances? What do we really like to achieve?
Yes.
And then there maybe are some kind of tools for that. But the main question is, what do we like to achieve? And what do we like our learners to learn? To be active citizens in a global society. And that requires ethical leadership who can really pave the way forward for all stakeholders, for the institutions, for the staff, and then all the staff, not just for teachers. We have a tendency to talk a lot about teachers, but there are also others within an institution. And sometimes there are just those silos also within an institution. And that is the leader's job, to break those silos and to work more interdisciplinary, and to build a culture of innovation about the digital transformation, and about how to shape the future we want. So that was my session about, and yeah, I'm very happy to discuss more about it. And my chapter will also focus on this.
Yes.
Thank you, Helga.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to you again, because you do forget some of the things. It hasn't been too long ago, but I remember that elephant analogy, that was really clever. I was very excited about that, and you know, it just reminds us that we cannot just let it be. It's there, but we can't just let it be. We want to see what can it do for us. And I really like that whole thinking. We
And
at
also,
first,
as you Anna has written as well, I mean, education, the formal education is one thing. Of course, it
yes,
leads to some graduation or some kind of diploma or whatever,
yeah,
profession or whatever. But we need to look much more to a lifelong learning. And lifelong learning starts already in childhood and lasts for the whole life. But institutions today are not ready for lifelong learners. And that is also why seamless education and seamless learning is so important, because
yeah.
it is also this merge with formal learning, informal learning, informal learning, and learning continue the whole life.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I actually like to think about this seamless learning as a journey that continues. It's not a once off. It's not just one pedagogical approach or one technology or this. It's a seamless experience, which is a journey. You know, and
Yes.
I think that could be. I think curriculum in schools is trying to get that, but it's not seamless enough. And there are too many, you know, this the specific subjects being taught as separate. You know,
Yes.
talking about the ecosystem, even with that, the integration of content and integration of themes and topics would make much more sense. I mean, the world is like that. And now in the
And
school,
also, yeah,
when you go to school, then everything is separated, and our brain has to say afterwards, okay, is that where the math comes in, or oh, is that how
and
we?
actually it is said by UNESCO as well when they launched their initiative about the future of education and the new social contract. And
Yes,
we are facing the SDGs, and the SDGs are really, really important. And I mean, the Agenda 2030, we are just some 5 years ahead from that.
yes,
But what they are stating is that education is so obsolete today, but
yes,
because it is subject orientated in those
yeah,
silos. But
exactly,
to solve global challenges as we have on the planet, every single curricula should embrace the SDG, the 17 SDGs in one or another way. If it is
yeah,
mathematics, if it is art, if it is, I mean,
yeah,
whatever kind of subject, you should work on with the SDGs as well, because this is the only
yes,
way we can meet the Agenda 2030, to break the
exactly,
silos
and
and
you
to
know,
work interdisciplinary.
yeah, exactly, and now if you look at the SDGs, I think that's what we also see them as separate tiles, you know, because that's how we've been thinking. But they should actually be circles that are integrated, you know,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
yes. But so I mean, that's great to know that the thinking is in that direction, because it is a very scientific, if I can call it that, scientific approach to be in you know, to divide the curriculum up in pieces, in sections, because well, when our forefathers started looking at school systems and bringing subjects in, they were separating them. That
To me,
our
it
world
is
is not.
quite not understandable, because most universities worldwide, they are very keen to work on the sustainability development goals,
Yeah,
but they are not keen to integrate it in the curricula in the education. But they have, special offices for SDGs or special initiatives or whatever. But that is another level. But they
yeah,
don't think, oh, can we integrate it in the curricula, and in case how? Because that is also why it is a leadership question, because you have to break down the
yes.
curricula. It can't be so
Mhm.
subject orientated, because that is obsolete today.
I think we are on a very interesting topic here. In talking about seamless and talking about integrating and multidisciplinary to bring those together. If we want our students to succeed in the world out of work, this approach that we have in our universities, originally in the schools and then universities, it's no longer applicable.
It doesn't fit. I mean, working life today, it is complex. It is very complex, and it is multifaceted. So we also need to have that in. I mean, education should be in the forefront, not coming afterwards, so to say.
Absolutely. I see, Sandhya, would you like to mention what you were saying here?
Hi. Yeah, it's just, we were just talking about how AI just intrudes or has integrated into our everyday lives. And we just default into AI, the way that we just, we think of a project proposal and we say, okay, let's see what ChatGPT has to say about that. Or we think of a paper to write and we say, okay, then can I get at least an outline, or can I get, ideas, references into a sentence? And then you just sort of, there's an anxiety that comes up. Am I not good enough? And eventually, am I losing control over my thoughts? So there's so much that gets into the ethics part, but also I think the elephant in the room, and I think when we in Ebba's discussion, there was the elephant actually charging towards us, and we really need to be, prepared. And how do we face that charging elephant, and how do we control that charging elephant? I think the element of control is also there, and the element of how it has pervaded the scene, if you want. So thank you for I really enjoyed the talk, Ebba. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandhya.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I like the idea that the elephant is charging.
It is.
We need to be very aware of what are we going to do with this big elephant now. Yeah, no, that's true. I do think one of the thoughts that we just had was, changing curriculum and really thinking about how we will be bringing our students into a world that is now so incredibly actually integrated. If I looked at the tools that this course that I'm doing, the tools that they are offering, so much of the basic work can actually be done by AI now. Basic work like writing
I
a
think,
report.
sorry to say, but I think again we have to not talk so much about the tools. We have to talk about the affordances and what it can bring to us, and what it can bring to learners. Then there are a variety of different kind of tools, methods. I mean, whatever, media, whatever. But also, the curricula need to be changed. It need to be changed. And I used to also argue that both the curricula but also the assessments need to be changed, because if we don't do that, nothing will be changed. It will be the same of the same, but in different variations. But the packages is the same of the same.
And honestly, I don't think it's because of AI that we want to change or have to change. It's because of the change in the world. Applying knowledge is important. I mean, for how many years have we asked our students to learn things off by heart and just give it back to us like parrots? It's just not applicable. You don't get quality education through that.
And I can't more than agree with you, Sandhya. I mean, that was also one of my part of my speech. Maybe I didn't mention it so much now, but we need to see our learners as collaborators, not just as prosumers because they are collaborators, but we have different kind of perspectives as a librarian or a teacher or a professor or a student or whatever. We need to see us as collaborators to achieve what we want to achieve.
Absolutely. And I think at the beginning, when Rob was talking about the projects he's done with the students, we need to include our students all the time. They are the learners. Yeah. We are just the facilitators. They are the people that need to be.
And especially when we are talking about the lifelong learners, because lifelong learners are coming and going into the system, and maybe some of them have, they have different kind of. We are so used to, put it like this: we are so used to see at universities that we have the bachelor, we have the master, we have the PhD, and then they're just a cohort, and we treat everyone in the same single way, instead of see each as individual. But also with the lifelong learners, they have experience. Of course, they have maybe another profession before they come to another kind of study, or they have a lots of years of experiences in working life, or they have traveling a lot, or whatever. So we need to take all those competences on the table, so to say.
Correct. So I have a question for you, Eva.
Okay.
One of the statements that you made was that we need to take care of education for all. Now, how do you see this happening in the future? Education for all. It's a concerning topic because we see the digital divide becoming bigger for the elites. And what about the group that doesn't get any of this access? How do you see this?
Oh, it is a very good question, and it is a really urgent question because, as I said, there are so many people out there who are lacking education, and there are so many children who don't even go to schools. And how can they be active citizens? In my opinion, and in how I see it, and the work I have done so far, and the contact and networks I'm involved in, education today is just for the elite people. We can't afford to do that any longer and to continue to do that any longer. And that is why lifelong learning has become so strong on the agenda. And I would say actually worldwide, it is very strong on the agenda for the moment. But as I said before, and as also I think Joanna was mentioned, most institutions are not prepared for that. And I will say that those institutions who take this responsibility seriously, they will survive. Others will not. Because we can't afford, neither for the planet, neither for the people, to leave so many people behind.
Yeah.
It is not fair. Education is a human right, and that was stated already in the in UN in 1948. Education is a human right. But still, in 2024, we are not acting as education is a human right.
Yeah, it's a very
so we are,
concerning
how to say, we are misleading, or we are, how to say that in English? We are really false to so many people. And that is not fair. And that is why open education is so important.
Exactly. And I do think that's also why we are working together in this. What I also thought, what you mentioned, is that the quality is so important. There's education and there's education. You can have very low quality education, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, if your link, you were saying the chain has to be strong. And I agree with that so much. If we look at our continents, the different continents of the world, we are here, a global community. We're working here together, and the idea is really that wherever we are on our place where we are, that we make a difference there and we speak up and we speak out. It's to me, I do think that if more people can become more aware of this concern, it's not about having, because I often hear, or I think that's what the concern is, that oh, it will cost too much money to educate everybody, but how much can they contribute to the economy once they are educated? I mean, then the money
Exactly.
is, their money is not only back, it is tripled. Or, you know, if we
And
look at certain cultures where only the men are educated, they are losing half of their economic force. You know, so if one could really, you know, mandate that and continue working towards that. I know we're touching on many topics here, but it does all work together. And that question that I ask you, I think that is like the hottest question. That is something that should just be in the back of our minds. So how are we going to do this? What is there must be a plan, and all governments should be part of it. You know, opening education
I mean,
for everyone.
this issue about it is so costly to educate all people. I mean, if you there's always two sides of a coin, you know. And if you look at the other
Yeah,
side, it is so costly. I mean, how costly isn't it that each and every single university around the globe should or are currently have a course, a curricula on, for example, introduction to mathematics. I mean, how costly isn't that?
and how
And
cost efficient.
just for a small cohort, we need much more collaboration because we
Mm,
have to. It is true that it is costly with education, but it depends also how you count the costs. We
yes,
need to allocate funding to do something else, which we are not doing today, which maybe can free up money, free up resources, free up time, because what is costly today is people's time.
absolutely. So, can I maybe ask in the group that are attending, anyone would you like to comment or you have a question for Eva?
I have a little question. You do have a lot of, I was trying to write in the chat, but I can now address it to you directly.
Yes, please do.
I didn't want to interrupt, but you have this vast expertise, and definitely you have worked so much on openness, open resources, and I try to, follow your research as much as possible. As years go by, I realize that each year we are producing large quantities of educational resources, and part of them are really open, but they are really not exploited properly. And that's why this is something that I've discussed, for instance, in some working groups at the European Commission, that, okay, we implement projects, we create resources, the project ends, the resources also die, because we don't have this ecosystem approach, this maybe we can get some inspiration from a production, for instance. We need to have this value chain that is also activated. Sometimes we are recreating resources just because we cannot reuse them properly. And then we are spending money not so very wisely. Instead of focusing on reaching to more communities and say, I have this, massive amounts of resources that are free for you to use, we invest in a lot of projects, time to recreate resources again. What is your, perspective on this? Can we address this disparity, and how can we take, some step farther, sooner than later? How do you feel this happening, this gap?
There is a lot to say about that. Thank you so much for raising this issue. It is really, really important. I have a lot to say about it. First of all, and that is also why I really argue about leadership and stress about leadership, because this is a leadership question. It is about incentives. It is about funding. It is about resources. It is about strategies and vision and mission, and not at least incentives. Because we are today, for example, it's very on a small scale, so to say. It is maybe teachers who are doing something themselves, either because they like it or because the students like it, but there are not any incentives for them to do so or to share it or to collaborate about it. So that is one issue. There needs to be a culture of openness within the institution, and that goes for all the levels. And actually also for governments, I mean, for the, as I used to say, the macro perspective, the meta perspective, the macro, the meso, and the micro level, and it comes down to the people at another level. So again, the chain, there need to be incentives, and this is really what is said in this Dubai recommendation, but also in the previous one from 2019, and to see all those 5 areas together, not just about the resource as such. There need to be policies, for example, there need to be international collaboration, there need to be incentives, there need to be funding, etc. There need to be repositories or whatever it is. And today also a lot of institutions are working with the OER, for example, but they are locked in this LMS system. So they are not open. You need to log in the system to use it, and that is one thing. And another thing is that it is in one way there's a lot of focus on creation, because everyone would like to have their own baby. They are not so much about, because with the OER there is the 5 R's about revise, readjust, also about recontextualize it and translation, this kind of things. That is not so common, unfortunately. And also another thing is that most OERs are in English and done by educators as us. Not together with students, for example, not together with other countries or languages or whatever. So then again, there need to be this cultural change about use of OER and the value of OER. And again, that is about affordances.
Yes, thank you. I mean, you have pinpointed the critical aspects that we need to address. Now we have to get to work on this. Yes, but it's very, and I really like this that you mentioned the cultural change, because I think this is a driver. And sometimes I feel that it is pushed aside because we have more priorities on the agenda, and you bring this up and you say, come on, that's really like in the past. And it is not, especially since we are interacting more. We consider this group, we are from all over the world, they have different cultures, and we're trying to leverage somehow this expertise. So thank you so very much for the input.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that was really a good question, and thank you for your answers. It's incredibly complicated because there are so many different role players. But I think something that came out of your question that really struck me, and the answer you gave was, maybe this is a barrier. We all want our own babies. We should collaborate. We should collaborate more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everybody wants to do something, but it's each one in his own silo. So you're repeating what the others are doing, but we are not moving forward. We are staying at the same place, trying to reinvent the wheel again and again, And when you were saying that these OER resources, they are actually behind some kind of login, and you can't get to them if you don't have that login. That's a silo again. That's one. Now I've got my place, and I have OER, but I'm for myself. And I mean, obviously, it's a matter of money. Everybody wants to get a little bit out of it, even if it is open. I'm not quite sure where do you say open when you have to pay, but yeah, it's a complicated situation. And
But
then on
on the
top of
other
that,
hand,
so many
sorry.
different cultures, so many different languages, so many differences to really move forward together, you know, as one big group and a big force. That is a challenge. But that's where we
But
are
on the other
standing.
hand, although it is complicated, we can't just say, oh, it is so complicated, we can't do anything, because that is exactly why we have to do something. And that is exactly why we need to collaborate. And that is exactly why each of us can make a difference if we believe in this and if we believe of this change, because each of us can make a difference, actually. And as I said, although it is complicated and complex or whatever, yes, it is. And that is why we have to solve it.
Yes. I think this is actually a good place to bring all these thoughts together. We've talked about all the topics we had this year in our AI, and I think we have really touched many different aspects which are important. But with this conversation that we have, that's the aim. That's the goal of this whole community we have. It's a goal of having specific topics where you work together on the topic, we share ideas, share thoughts. And I also think that it would be awesome if we can have a plan. Sit together and come up with a plan where we can say, all right, how can we collaborate even better, more effective, and then bring our community, our research network that we have here, that we bring that community into different areas on higher level, on leadership level, speak together as one voice. I think if we can do that, we will be able to make more progress. So I think for next year we will be doing some collaborative planning and taking step by step together. But thank you very much, Eva. I see everyone here is thanking you. We're looking forward to next year. And I see there are new faces and new names in this group. If you want to join in for next year as to become a member, you are absolutely welcome. You can give me your email address and then we can start communicating in the future. And I really want to wish Eva and each one of the researchers that were participating this year, Joanna, thank you so much for all your enthusiasm, your support, your attendances every time you were there, and I knew I could count on you. Thank you very much for being part of this. And Sanya, who joined us, I'm looking forward to working with you. Mamba, we have seen you in many of the webinars this year. Thank you so much for attending and being part of it. And next year, I hope we can involve you with our presentations as well. So, on that note, I wish you all the best and happy holidays. Take a good rest, and we'll see you again next year.
Thank you so
Thank
very
you so
much.
much, Helga, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Marva.
Bye, Helga.
Bye. We'll talk.
We'll talk, my dear.
Yes, yes, we have to. We have to. We mustn't forget Africa. This is important. Okay.